Okay, taking the screws away now, and same volume through the amp as the volume on the guitar up. And although it's lively because it's not grounded, you can tell it's far less ringy than it was. It's not ringing anything like. The pseudo is well adhered, it's even. You can tell it rings a little bit more there. Could probably cure that with a bit of extra pseudo, but I'm not worried about it because it's substantially different from what it was. So I'll ground this now and wire it up, and I may put it back on the bridge first. I've got some silicon tubing which I bought from a model shop where they use it for radio controlled car fuel lines, which I'm going to cut down and use for pickup instead of springs, so that will help as well. Substantially cheaper by the length than buying cut pieces of silicon with a Fender branding on or whatever. So support your local suppliers and model shops, and if you can, do things like this. But yeah, pickup's moving around, but catching all the screws on the pickguard. But I've got that. It's not anything louder than I did before, and it's nothing like as lively as it was. So hopefully I'll put that back on the plate. Should be able to prove it's a lot quieter than it was, a lot less squealy. So stay with it. On. Okay, I've put the bridge plate back on, and I've used some pieces of silicon fuel line from the model shop, as I said. Cut them into some short lengths just to make the length right, and also I find it helps if you have one solid piece. Sometimes it can bind a bit and get too stiff, so having a couple of pieces helps. But that's the sort of stuff. So there we go. Let's have a look. That's the earth lifted, so we've got some noise, but try and support it as lightly as possible so I don't damp the vibration. It's still microphonic. It's going to be. It's a big piece of metal around a pickup, but it's not ringing anything like it was. And at that volume before, as you may have seen in the first video, it was squealing. Now I'm turning the amp a lot further up. Now we can hear the ringing coming through now, but I've no way I got to that volume before. So it is substantial, and this isn't fixed down, so it's going to be worse than it would be if it was screwed down and the pressure of the strings holding it down. One further step I'm going to try, just in surmising this particular video, is I've got these thin slithers of silicon tubing that I'm going to try and put underneath the head of the screw, because obviously that is the most direct contact point between the pickup and the bridge plate. So I'm going to take a bit of the tubing out from underneath, and it's probably a bit low anyway. I mean, this is all academic. I might have to play with it when I get the strings on to get the height right. But for the purposes of looking at the microphonics, I'm going to put these slithers of silicon, which are quite soft, underneath the head of the screw, on top of the plate. So hopefully I'm going to reduce the coupling, the mechanical coupling between the metal of the plate and the metal of the screw, because obviously these are quite hard materials. Any oscillation, vibration, mechanical noise will be transferred, because there's a reasonable amount of pressure on these screws, will be transferred straight from the metal plate into the screw and into the base of the pickup, and then round and round we go. So that's another thing, really. You don't want the pickup to be too stiff, because I know there's people ruminate about the Les Paul Junior having the pickup screwed to the body and all the rest of it, but that's a different scenario. It's screwed to the wood, there's no metal around it, and truth be told, you know, I think it's another one of those old wives things that we could argue till the cows come home about what difference it makes, and probably someone somewhere has done a comparison, but I digress. So I'm going to put these under these heads of these screws and see what difference that makes. Beyond that, I might, you know, try and excuse the coughing. I might try and if it's still an issue, I might try and mount the pickup to the body with some screw as mounts, sort of shock mounts, to try and isolate it again. But at the end of the day, it's still a piece of metal around this pickup, and these sides themselves will have a certain amount of spring effect that the pickup will detect because of the proximity. So I think that's where having a half bridge may come in. This is not a design that was intended to be used with the volume or gain that any of us use in modern situations, and I think a certain amount of the ringing and idiosyncratic noises is probably part of the tone, but I found in a reasonably loud gig, and not that I play with huge amounts of gain, but through a plexi, 50 watt plexi on the edge, in a big room, it was I just couldn't play at full volume on the back pickup, and going near my boost pedal and my wah pedal was totally off limits. It was going into torturing dogs and bats territory. So I'll put these under here and do another clip, see what difference it makes. Probably won't make any, but we'll try it just to see. And yeah, that'll do us for now. So my good lady camera handler is not here at the moment, so I'm doing it on my own. But as you can see, I've put the silicone washers, if you like, that I made from the tubing underneath the heads of the screws, and I've played with the lengths underneath to make sure that that the pickup is secure, but it's also not too rigidly held, because obviously that has a certain amount of, it's going to transfer certain noises and things, and buckle things and strain things, but it's enough for it to be mechanically secure anyway. So I've got, excuse the wobbly camera. It's a lot less lively than it was. Yeah, I would never have got that far before in volume without incurring squealing. So it's much improved. Really, this is polishing a turd, as they say, I suppose, because these vintage, old-fashioned designs are not as refined, perhaps, as some modern equivalents, but it's all about making it work and limiting the downsides and limiting the side effects of things. So although it's still microphonic, it's by no means cured, but it's massively reduced. and the proof of the pudding will be in the eating at gig volume, and which I obviously can't totally recreate in the house, but this is a Sessionette 75. It's a loud little thing, and that was near as damn it maxed on the overdrive channel then. So I think it's come a long way. I still want to look at getting a top loading bridge, and potentially, I suppose, you know, I could limit a lot of the microphonics by going to the half bridge and mounting the pickup to the wood, but it is ferrous, the bridge, and I dare say it does have an effect on the magnetic field, and I suppose that's a subject for another comparison really, is perhaps I could do that. Perhaps I could do a video on the pure tonal difference between one bridge and another, but again, different alloys involved and whatever. It wouldn't be a very scientific comparison. But then, really, you know, if you can hear a difference, there is one, and I think that's part of the idea of this hairy-arsed concept, is that even on a phone, a terrible phone camera, you know, that's kind of a real-world situation, because in a gig, you know, it's not hi-fi. You're not playing straight into people's ears. They're round the corner, there are soft furnishings, the acoustics change, there's other people playing, and so, you know, it's a good rule of thumb that even on a lo-fi comparison, if you can hear something, then there is something. So there's probably some mileage in these kind of comparisons, but it's clearly, I suppose, if we were to go back to my first video and compare, we could see a big difference. The Sugru, I think, is the moldable rubber is a big part of the deal in securing that bottom plate, and then the silicon tubing as well, obviously, is substantially better than having a compressed steel spring which is going to ring, and the pickup doesn't know any different between that spring and a string. So, you know, and I heard a definite difference having the silicon underneath the head of the screw as well. Again, it's about reducing that stiff mechanical hard surfaces against hard surfaces, which is where the transference of the high-pitched noises is happening. And it's interesting, if you go out and read, there are books out there about the physics and mechanics of vibration in musical instruments, and even a cursory read, you know, of the more basic ones is enough to inform you of many facts that your guitar guru, who speaks in a low-slung voice and knows all the black arts, you know, will have you believe in all sorts. But if you look into the physics and mechanics and the real things going on, they quite easily dispel some of these myths, and you know, and you learn things which are helpful in the long run. I'm waffling. So yeah, so far that's successful. Next step is to set it up, and here come the kids, so I think that's a good time to end. Right, thanks for watching.